When Google released the Nexus 1 in 2010, it was a landmark device. And they continued making these Nexus devices for the next 5 or so years. And what these devices were, as Phone Arena puts it here, they were a vessel for Android. There were Android devices, but then there were Nexus devices. And Nexus devices were usually a pretty good value in terms of money spent, but they presented Google's vision for what Android was meant to be. Generally speaking, all of them reviewed relatively well, some better than others, but they all seemed to review relatively well. And they offered an accessible entry point to the Google ecosystem that still managed to push specs in a really nice way. Then at the end of the Nexus life cycle, we started hearing rumors that Google was going to bring manufacturing of these phones in-house, and they were going to change things up and stop calling it Nexus, which I thought was a really good name, and begin calling them Pixel. And out of that, we got in 2016 the Google Pixel 1. Obviously, they didn't call it the Pixel 1. They just called it the Google Pixel. And by modern standards, it looks like a phone from 2016. It looks a little old. That chin and that forehead, quite large. But the Pixel was received relatively well. And the biggest thing that the Pixel had that was clearly the focal point was twofold. One, this is pure stock Android with some great Google magic sprinkled on top like fairy dust. And two, the camera was outstanding, and that would only get better over time. The Pixel camera was where it was at. But I don't think the Pixel line really came into its own until this guy, the Pixel 2. That was my entry point. This is the Pixel 2 XL. The chin and the forehead got smaller. We got stereo front firing speakers. We got an improved camera setup. And let me just tell you, when this thing came out, the camera on the Pixel 2 wasn't just the best camera in the smartphone world. It wasn't even close. And if you take the Pixel 2 now, if I fired this thing up now and I took a photo with it, you'd probably be pretty damn impressed with how good it looks. Honestly, I think the Pixel 2 was the absolute zenith for the Pixel line. That was when the messaging, the offering of the Pixel phone was at its most clear and was also its most enticing. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that some of these later Pixel phones are bad phones. In fact, I think the Pixel 5 is a real return to form, and the A line, the Pixel 2A, 3A, and 4A have all been really well received and are a really great phone for the price that they come out at. That flagship model, we are seeing a popularity decrease, especially over the last couple of years. Based on data, since 2019, the popularity of the Pixel phone has decreased by almost 19%, and that is a significant amount. And I think it's not that difficult to see what went wrong here. So when the Pixel 3 came out, you had the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL. And I think that the Pixel 3 XL underlined very, very easily exactly how disconnected Google was beginning to become. People were absolutely aghast, horrified by the bathtub notch in the display of the Pixel 3 XL. I would have rather had the bigger screen, but I bought the Pixel 3 because I couldn't stand the look of that notch. It looked terrible. And moreover, on some level, it was really obvious that Google was trying to steal some iPhone magic to maybe even confuse someone into thinking, hey, that's like an iPhone. The Pixel 3 and 3 XL were good phones, and I actually really liked my Pixel 3, although there was another problem that was prevalent on these devices, and it was poor battery life. This was something that had always been good, was really solid on the Pixel 2 XL. Well, now on the Pixel 3, the battery life was pretty subpar. This guy struggled to get me through a full day, and if I wanted a better battery life, I had to put up with that horrifying notch. No thank you. Then the Pixel 4 came out, and they decided to do something radically different. What you got here was the first real update in the design language that we had had in a while. I don't personally think it looks bad, but you have to flip it around to the front to see really what's going on here. An asymmetrical chin and forehead, and the reason for that is you have a true 3D face unlock system to rival the iPhones in the Pixel 4. That was their goal here, was to rival the iPhone in terms of this face unlock. And I think that is strike two in forgetting where you've come from Google. The first strike being adopting this iPhone style, but worse, notch with no good reason to even have it. It was just so the camera could be there. There's no logical reason why that notch needed to be that big. And then to double down on that and to say, well, we won't do a notch, but we'll do a forehead to do face unlock, when face unlock is just not something that many people care about, in particular on Android. Since the beginning, the Pixels were about a great software experience and a phenomenal camera, and now we're up to Pixel 4. The cameras have barely changed at all. We did get a telephoto lens on the Pixel 4, but the sensors are remaining virtually unchanged, the photo quality virtually unchanged, and that massive lead that you had is now shrinking. And in terms of software, that lead is also rapidly shrinking as companies like Samsung begin to pare down their software experience from the bloated TouchWiz interface down to One UI. And now you live in a world where if you closed your eyes and reached into the world and pulled out a phone, almost all of them have great software experiences, from Samsung to OnePlus. Name a phone that runs Android and it probably has a close to stock experience with a few add-ons that is going to do pretty well for you. So as Google has gotten distracted by chasing the red herring of face unlock and the appearance of an iPhone, their lead in every significant way has shrunk massively. And I think the Pixel 4 speaks to that really clearly, because that thing did not sell. You know what did sell? The Pixel 3a, which is what you wanted. It was cheaper, it had phenomenal battery life, and the camera for that price range was unrivaled. Now, I do think that the Pixel 5 is a pretty damn good phone. The battery life is outstanding. The camera still is as good as any out there, and you do now have a wide-angle lens. But I think the path forward for Google could not be more clear. Google, you have to begin innovating with this Pixel line. You cannot rest on the laurels you built up with the Pixel 2 XL all those years ago. That's not going to cut it anymore. You cannot launch the Pixel 6 with 12 megapixel cameras again. I'm sorry, you just can't. Even though you could probably get similar image quality, you have got to push this thing up. Even the cheapest phones have 48 megapixel and up cameras. And I know higher megapixel count does not equal having better camera quality, photo quality. But you can't keep using the same sensor now for what, 5, 6 years? How long are we going to keep using almost the exact same sensor while everyone else keeps updating their sensors and getting better and better photo quality while you do the same thing over and over? The best thing I can say about the Pixel 5 is that they have abandoned the red herrings and they've gone back to what made them. Great battery life, great camera, great software experience. And in what could be seen as a callback to the Nexus devices, a lower price. But the Pixel 6 is going to have to be something new. I don't know how much better the camera can get, but there needs to be a leap somewhere like we saw with the original Pixels. For better or worse, the Pixel 5 doesn't really have any tricks. It's just a good phone at most things. But being a good phone at most things doesn't sell millions of units. There has to be a hook. And where Google has swung in the past, they've missed pretty hard. Maybe the answer isn't the Pixel 6. Maybe it's Google Passport. Maybe a Pixel phone like the 5 that can fold is the answer. Maybe this thing can come out at a reduced price, a more affordable price with that camera, with that software experience. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know, but I'm a big fan of the Google Pixel phones and the Nexus phones from back in the day as well. And it does sadden me a little bit to see Google struggle the way that they have to find traction with their main flagship phones. And sadly, even with the Pixel 5, there's just such good competition. You can get the Samsung S20 FE for a similar price, and you could argue it might be a better phone. More features, more camera lenses, similar specs, similar battery. So guys, what do you want to see Google roll out as the hook for Pixel 6? What is the idea or concept that's going to bring them back to the glory days of the Pixel 2 XL? I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. Stay tuned for more tech videos just like this. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.